Here are three very important test questions based on inverse of functions for you. I am Anil Kumar. Welcome to my YouTube channel and the website Global Math Institute. We are taking test practice questions in this particular playlist. Here is a one which is on inverse function, a very popular question. So I'm going to discuss two different strategies to solve this particular problem. Let's read the question, which is, given that f of x equals to k times 5 plus x, find the value of k if f inverse of minus 6 is minus 7. Right? So a bit tricky worded. Let's get to it, right? So I'll discuss with you strategies. Let's say strategy 1. And on the next page, I'm going to discuss strategy 2. So strategy 2 is solution in a minute. We'll wait for a minute to get there. Let's begin with the standard method, right? So standard method is where you get lost, right? So strategy 1, standard method, right? It goes on forever. It's very difficult. Let's go with that. So we are given the function which is equal to k times 5 plus x. And we are really interested in the inverse of this function, and the values in the inverse minus 6 will give me minus 7. So first step will be find inverse of this function, right? So to find inverse, first step is swap. Means x becomes y and y becomes x, right? So we write here x equals to k 5 plus y, and then isolate y. Correct. So let's isolate y. So we want to find what y is. We write x over k equals to 5 plus y. Or we can say that y is equal to x over k minus 5. Makes sense? So we can now write down what is the inverse of a function, right? So inverse of this function is basically equal to x divided by 5, or x divided by k minus 5. Is that clear to you? Now once you find that, then we have given that at minus 6 it is minus 7. So we write minus 6 here, right? F of minus 6 is 7, right? So that means what? We are given that f inverse of minus 6 is minus 7. So minus 7 is the output. So minus 7 is equal to x value is minus 6 over k minus 5. Makes sense? So we'll bring this 5 to the right side. So minus 7 plus 5 is equal to minus 6 over k. Perfect. And so this is minus 2. Okay, minus 2. Cross multiply. So k equals to minus 6 over minus 2. That gives you 3. So we know that k is equal to 3. So this is the standard method which we have been doing for so long, and where there are a lot of places where students can make mistakes, especially substitution itself, right? Now let's talk about the concept of inverse function and do it with strategy 2, which is a 1-minute solution. Now look here, the concept is, when I say that f inverse of minus 6 is equal to minus 7, what does it mean? It means that on the inverse, we have a coordinate point which is minus 6 and the output is 7, correct? Now, if you are looking at the function, then in the function, how will this coordinate point be? It will be swapped, right? It will be 7 minus 6. Do you see that? So on the function, the same point will be, we can write this as f of minus 7 equals to minus 6. Does it make sense to you? It just gets swapped, right? So this is the concept. So first thing is understand the concept. Now we have understood the concept. We are given the function. So first thing is to understand the concept. Now once the concept is clear, the solution is absolutely simple. So let's go for the solution. So what have we understood? We have understood that for the given function f of x, which is equal to k times 5 plus x, we are given a coordinate point. And this coordinate point is minus 7 minus 6. You get the idea. So we'll substitute the value straight away. Minus 6 is f of x and k, and we have 5 minus 7. So minus 6 and we have a k minus 2, right? And so minus 6 divided by minus 2 is the k value, and that is 3. So we get our answer, and that is k is equal to 3. Do you see this solution? You can do this in less than a minute. That is where we come in. Well, in case you want to learn from me, you can always send an email on this particular address. Understand the concepts, master them, and excel. Now let us take up the second question, where the inverse will be found by just using words. I am Anil Kumar. Welcome to my YouTube channel and the website Global Math Institute. In this video, we have a very interesting question based on inverse of a function. Which pair of function described below in words are inverses? So we have 4 options. One of them has been described as a set of inverse functions. You need to identify that. Function f, multiply by 5, then add 3. G, divide by 5, then subtract 3. B, multiply by 5, then add 3, divide by 5, then add 3. C, multiply by 5, then add 3, subtract 3, then divide by 5. So, function f is given to us as multiply by 5, then add 3. To this, we have to find the inverse of the function. So, you have to choose the correct choice. Perfect. Let's try to understand how do we answer this question in a minute. When we say inverse of a function, we are looking at reverse operation. Clear? As far as the function is concerned, we are saying what? Multiply by 5, then add 3. That means we are saying function is multiply by 5 and then add 3. So what should be the inverse of this function? Well, the inverse is the reverse operation. Means you have to see from this side. So reverse operation will be subtract 3 and then divide by 5. Do you see that? Subtract 3 and then divide by 5. So that is the reverse operation. And therefore, now you can see which is the correct option. So subtract 3 and then divide by 5. Option C is the right option. You get the idea. That is how you have to do it. I hope the concept is absolutely clear. You can verify. Perfect. How will you verify? Function of inverse function should be x. Perfect. That is how you will verify. I hope this is absolutely clear. Let us explore a very powerful technique for finding inverse just using words. I am Anil Kumar. Welcome to my YouTube channel and the website Global Math Institute. In this video, we will find inverse of a function using just words, not algebraically. So the question here is, write inverse of f of x equals to 3 square root of x plus 2 minus 1 using words. What range of values of x can be used for this inverse? and take a value of x to justify your answer. So these are the parts of this particular question. I'd like you to pause the video, answer the question, and then look into my suggestions. We are given the function which is f of x equals to 3 times square root of x plus 2 minus 1. We need to find inverse of this function, correct? And that too using words. How will you do it? So let's try to understand the operations being performed, and then we are going to do reverse operations. Make sense? That is how we are going to find the inverse. But before getting there, it's a good idea to check the domain and range, since for inverse, domain and range will also flip, right? So check domain and range. So for the given function, as you can see, the domain is that x plus 2 should be greater than or equal to 0. That means x is greater than or equal to minus 2. So we have the domain of this particular function as x belongs to real numbers, where x is greater than or equal to minus 2. Clear? Range is the y values, which will be what for this? Y also belongs to real numbers, and you see this has been shifted 1 unit down, right? So that means y is greater than or equal to minus 1. That is the domain range. Now, for inverse function, the domain and range will flip. So keep that in mind while answering the question, right? So if you are looking into the inverse function, in that case, what happens? The range becomes the domain, right? So the domain will be x is greater than or equal to minus 1, and the range will be y is greater than or equal to minus 2. Is that clear to you? So that is for inverse function. Keep this in mind, and you have to put that as a restriction. Also in the question, we are saying what range of values of x can be used for the inverse. So we've in a way answered this particular question, which is what range of values of x can be used for inverse. So the range of values are y greater than or equal to minus 2. Is it clear? Then we have to take a value of x to justify our answer that we could take within our domain and range. Perfect. So I think now you have a good idea of what the question is. So take an attempt on this, and then we'll see how to solve it. Here is my suggestion. So as I was saying, the function itself is given to us as equal to 3 times x plus 2 square root minus 1. So what are the operations being performed? That is what we have to look into, right? So if I feed in x, then first thing is to x we add 2, right? And then what do? We square root. Let me write like this. And then what do? We times it with 3, right? So we do times 3. Let's write it. And then we take away 1. So these are the operations in order which are performed. And therefore, we can now say what is the inverse of this function. So in words, we have to go in this particular direction, which says minus 1, what is the inverse, reverse of this, you can say, right? So reverse operation. You add 1, right? So we'd say add 1, right? And then what do you see? Instead of multiply, then the next operation is divide by 3. And then square. And then instead of adding, we subtract 2. Make sense? So now, now we have the inverse of this particular function, which can be written as x plus 1, right? Divide by 3 square, and then you subtract 2. Do you see that in algebraic form? In words, you write as add 1, divide by 3 square, and subtract 2. Now here it is very important to also include what should be the domain, right? So clearly, when we did this part, we saw that the range is greater than equal to minus 1. So here x will be greater than equal to minus 1. This is extremely important to include. Otherwise, you are going to write the whole parabola, which is going to be a wrong answer. Let's visualize the scenario. As far as the square root function is concerned, it has moved 2 units to the left and 1 unit down, right? So it can be sketched as 2 left and 1 down, so something like this, right? So I'm mainly concerned with this particular point, which is minus 2, minus 1. Now when you do the inverse of this, then this point is going to flip, right? So when it flips, then the image will be minus 1, minus 2, right? So at minus 1 we have minus 2, that will be the reflection. And therefore, that will go like this. This is the parabola, where this point here is minus 1, minus 2. You get the idea. So that's your inverse function. You can clearly see that the domain is on the right side of minus 1, as we have pointed out. And range is greater than minus 2. Is that clear to you? So that is how we need to visualize this. Perfect. Now let's answer the question number 2, which is what range of the values of x can be used for the inverse? So the range of the values are greater than minus 2, right? So this point here. So part B, let's do it on a fresh page. So when we say what range of the values can inverse have, we know that the function for us is 3 square root of x plus 2 minus 1, and the inverse of this function is we added 1 to it and then we divided by 3, then we squared it, correct, and minus 2. Now for this particular function, we are taking only one side of this particular parabola. So we are saying x is greater than equal to minus 1. So that was the first part which we just did. Now, what range of the values of x can be used for the inverse? So for inverse, we know the domain is this. We can now write the range also. Range will be the vertex is at minus 2, right? So the y value is greater than equal to minus 2. Is that clear to you? So that becomes the answer for the second part, which is y is greater than equal to minus 2. Now it says take a value of x to justify your answer, right? So that is to say, if I take a value of x here, let's take a value which is valid, then because this is a square root function, it will be a good idea to take x as, for example, 2. So if I use x equals to 2, then what is f of 2? F of 2 will be 3 times square root of 2 plus 2 minus 1, which is 3 times 2 plus 2 is 4, square root is 2, minus 1, which is 6 minus 1 as 5. So we have the coordinate point 2, 5, correct? Now in the inverse function, if I put 5, I should get 2 as my output, right? So let's find what is inverse of 5. So if I put 5 here, I get 5 plus 1 over 3 whole square minus 2, right? 5 plus 1 is 6, 6 over 3 whole square minus 2, which is 2 square minus 2, right? So 2 square is 4, 4 minus 2 gives me 2. Do you see that? So we have shown a very important result, that if the input is 2, the output is 5, and when we feed in 5, we get 2, correct? So let me rewrite this. So what we have shown just now is that with the help of an example, if I feed in 2 to our function f of x, then what we get here is 5, right? On the other hand, if I reverse this operation, that is to f inverse x, right? That is the inverse. What do you get back to? So that is how we verified that the result is correct. So there is an important relation here, which is f of f inverse x is always equal to x, is always x, and that is how you verify. Is that clear to you? So I hope the whole concept is absolutely clear. If you have any doubts, you can always send an email or write comments on this particular video. Feel free to write your comments and share your views. Well, in case you want to learn from me, then you can also send an email on this address. Thanks for your time and all the best.